YouTube, TikTok family, what's good, y'all? I am so tired, but we gonna do this because we have to do this. So, like myself, there are many others that's starting to find out. Well, I already knew, but there are many others, and on TikTok, there's people like me that's for sure and for certain that they lived a life here. They lived a past life. They lived a life on earth here before they were born. Now, many of these people you won't find grouped together in your settings. These are special children or children or people that had a calling on their life or something that God had in the works for them. And when I'm on TikTok, I see people, you know, explaining different things or showing different things that's about to happen, like a different car that's a certain color car that's about to ride down the road before it hits because they remember these things. And I want people to know that they're not crazy because we're coming up on that time where people are trying to connect with their past life. Like something, it's deja vu or it's something that lets them know that they were here before. But like I said, with me, there was no question. I was here before. I'm Even though I'm the baby of my family, I'm actually older than them. I'm even actually older than my mother and father because I was here first. But they don't know that. So I want to help people connect and I want to reassure people that keep having these moments that they are correct. You were here before. But what I think it's your past life trying to get in touch with your life now to make the connection. So I found something, and this says Medium. I don't know if this is the name of the channel, but it says Medium, but it's signs you may have lived a past life. For years, I wondered why certain things drew me in that had nothing to do with my immediate life and work. Things that seemed more than a passing interest. I would feel a sense of righteousness about them and familiarity, though I didn't know what I meant by that. I would hear music from the Renaissance and my spirit would soar. I walked into a medieval abbey and knew my way around. I visited Catholic monasteries in Britain and had the overwhelming feeling I was home. On a journey from Massachusetts to California, I drove along a magnificent, desolated highway, though through New Mexico, and I was certain I had known those massive cliffs and the under-ending plain ages before, even though I had never been west of New York. 20 years later, that road began to appear in my fiction, in my books and stories. What was especially curious, I found an old manuscript, an unfinished one written 10 years before that cross country dive, and it opened with a woman driving on a road through a desert towards cliffs. It was very place I had later found. It was the very place I had later found, thus so how that the landscaping already was known to me. Wait a minute. Okay. Well, we'll put that in the story because it faded out and it wouldn't let me read it, but I'm pretty sure some of y'all know what that's about. That's the connection. But then I did see something, Vogue India. 8 signs you lived a past life, and some are pretty common. Let's go here. Like many other zillions, manifesting and horoscopes have somehow made their way into my daily sphere. But as talk around our past lives become a surprisingly accepting topic of conversation, it may be a little more than my skeptical Capricorn brain that I'm a Capricorn can get on board with. For the underinitiated, a past life or alternative life refers to the view that one's soul or spirit has lived a life or lives before this one. It's a belief that's as old as time itself. Reincarnation is a central tenet in religions including Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, and Jainism. But it can be a pretty alien concept for Western ideologies. Even so, searches for past life spiked in the UK around the summer of 2020 at the height of the pandemic. But since the start of the year, interest is beginning to steadily climb again according to Google data. So what gives? Both horoscopes and past lives seek to make sense of our world and the people in it in the more alternative ways. Both can help forge connections. Fellow zodiac signs can identify similar motivations. Past lives could untangible instant. Wait a minute, what the hell? Both can help forge connections. Fellow zodiac signs can identify similar motivations. Past lives could untangle instant synergy when you inexplicably click with another person. But they also challenge the idea that there's nothing more to this world than irrational and pretty complicated place we find ourselves in. The escapism, Pisces, and possibility to be found in astrology and spirituality, which could explain why it's increasingly being entertained by a whole new generations. And if we leave ourselves open to the idea that there is more to this life than what's plainly visible, who knows? Perhaps there's a lot more we can discover about ourselves. Fantasy or not, taking a spiritual leap can be cathartic, Catharic, which brings us back to past lives. We ask, they got so many fancy words in here. We ask multidisciplinary energy healer and somebody, Fatima Musatib from Hilton King Clinic, to guide us through the signs that you may have lived a past life. She offers past life therapy and past life regression, a form of hypnotherapy to explore previous lives of incarnations. Okay, so I'm thinking one is unexplained feelings. If you regularly experience lingering emotions that you can't place, it could be a sign that you're coming through from a past life, according to Fatima. For instance, feeling overly sad, disempowered, or lonely may have its roots in past life, she says. It's that feeling that something is not right, even though everything seems fine. It comes up a lot with people who are settled in a good job and yet they're not happy in their work life. I had a client who felt blessed, but she didn't feel relaxed or positive. That sounds like me. When hypnotized, she saw herself as a male farmer. I was a male. It still is a male. Let me shut up. She saw herself as a male farmer who was the sole breadwinner of his family. She realized she had brought into this lifetime the spirit having to work hard to support her family. However, all her children were grown up and financially independent. At the end of the session, she decided to retire and enjoy being a grandparent with her husband. 2. Spontaneous visions and reoccurring dreams. Ever had a dream or vision that felt weirdly familiar or realistic? It could be rooted in past life experiences. I've had clients who remember spontaneous visions they had, most often during their childhood. These visions could be of them being in a foreign land, being of a different gender, dressed in a historical way, or surrounded by people they'd never met. The memory of these visions made them curious to find out about their past lives, explained Fatima. Famous psychiatrist Dr. Brian Weiss worked with a client called Catherine, with whom he hypnotherapy and regression. To his surprise, she started revealing past life trauma that were explaining her recurrent nightmares and anxieties. Although he was skeptical at first, past life regression therapy later became a huge part of his career, she adds. 3. An infirmity with a time period or with a culture. There are some people that just seem like they're from a different era. This could be anything from their mannerisms to the books they like to read or the clothes they like to wear. Some people unexplainably curious about a particular time in history or a distinctive culture. I've had a male client who read about a lot of Middle Ages. When in trance, he found himself in medieval Europe, and he healed feelings of loneliness and guilt due to misconnections rooted in those lifetimes, says Fatima. Unusual birthmarks. 4. Fatima told us about research linking birthmarks to past lives. Dr. Ian Stevenson, an American psychiatrist at University of Virginia Medical School, examined cases of children with spontaneous past life memories who had birthmarks that matched the wound of the deceased person whose life they seemed to remember. She said a study carried out by Stevenson found an astonishing link between birthmarks of children who reported memories of past life and the death of the person from the past life, where they were able to be identified and their death verified. For instance, one child remembered the life of a man, Maharam, who was killed with a shotgun fire at close range. He had been shot on the lower right side of his chest, which was where the child had a plummeted birthmark. 6. Unexplained feelings towards someone. We've all heard of instant connections, but there may be more to them. This is when two people meet and they already know how they feel about one another. This sometimes forms relationships that are inexplicably changeable because something unhealed is carried from the past life to this one. It can also be the foundation for a loving friendship or partnership or even sound work relationship, says Fatima. Our soulmate could be the person our soul connected to in a life before this one. Is this 7? Because it's not numbered. Knowing an unvisited location. If you've ever experienced deja vu when you're visiting somewhere new, it could be a sign that you've been there in a time before this one. Some people visit a city for the first time and yet seem to know it like the back of their hand, said Fatima. Xenoglossy, Xenoglossy, xenoglossy. Some believe that xenoglossy is evidence that their past lives exist. This is a rare and paranormal phenomenon where a person is able to speak, understand, or even write in a language that they have never been exposed to in current lifetime. Like, I know how to do sign language. I know how to understand sign language, and people understand me, says Fatima. However, some experts argue that there is no scientifically proven evidence of its existence. Whenever they argue there's no scientific proof, you better believe it's the real deal. And there are few cases to verify the phenomenon. 8. A hidden talent. More popular is the belief that the ability to pick up on language quickly, amongst other skills like a gift for playing musical instruments, pulled through from a past life. Some people hypnotized that child prodigies may have learned that their skills are in a prior lifetime, says Fatima. So yeah, that makes sense to me because I already identify, I already know who I am. Father showed me where I came from, what I used to do, who I was. And I remember the story like I needed him for the connection, but I remembered, because there's a vibe around me. There's a warm vibe with me with a certain frequency of vibration that goes through. Like I said, I lived here in this house before. It was taken away from me, and I got it back. I remember there's an incident that's about to happen now with someone trying to do something to me, and they made me fall before. Or I don't know if it was their grandmother or grandfather, but they're the seed and they're coming back to make me fall, but they're going to fall. I remember a lot of things. So I just wanted to help people. My words were messed up and slurred because there was a lot of fancy writing going on here, and y'all know I'm not, whatever. And y'all know I have a speech impediment that I'm proud of. But I hope this helps. And I apologize for the video not being so great due to my speech impediment. But then again, I don't. But yeah, I thought this was pretty dope to talk about.